Okay, joining me right now is Daniel Hooker, UFC lightweight. He's actually one of the main guys coming out of New Zealand, representing New Zealand to the fullest. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. Nah, very well. Things are good in New Zealand.
Now, how does it feel being one of the, faces of New Zealand MMA around the world?
I think I'm just proud to represent my country. When I started in the sport, it was so small, it was so minuscule. So with to the level we've taken it now, with having UFC events and it actually being like quite a draw for the UFC and coming to New Zealand. They always pack out arenas and just the attention that we get from the sport. Yeah, I'm just kind of a bit amazed by it, and I think I'm amazed more than others because it's something that I never pictured getting into the sport. I never thought it would kind of reach this stage. There was When I got into the sport and started watching UFC, there was no one from our region competing there, especially no one from New Zealand. So when the first guys kind of cropped through, Jamie Tahuna and Mark Hunt, that was kind of like a light switch moment for me. I was like, you can be from New Zealand and be in the UFC. So if I can do that to the next generation, so to inspire the next generation, just to show them that it is a possibility, would be big for me.
In your last fight against Ross Pearson in your hometown, did you get to soak all that up right there? Like there's a moment at that time like, hey, I've arrived?
Yeah, I guess I always take that moment, after the fight. I like to just block everything out and get, solely focused on my opponent. So when I was walking out and stuff, I just had the blinders on, head down, uh, trying to block all of that out. But then as soon as the win, you can kind of flick that switch and soak everything up. And yeah, but these are moments that you'll look back on the rest of your life. I knew maybe at that stage you're not going to have as much appreciation as you do have for that kind of achievement, but I'm sure that's something I can always look back on, and it'll be, yeah, I'll always have things like that. So in 10 and 20 years, I can tell my kids and my grandkids about that kind of stuff.
For sure. That's those are one of those moments, right?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Now, the knockout, the knee, one of the most spectacular knockouts of the year. It's like everybody's ranking it up there as one of the best. How did it, what was the emotions after that knockout? Like, I know you respect Ross Pearson a lot. So, taking him out like that, it must have been some mixed emotions happening.
Yeah, definitely. Any kind of knockout is super mixed emotions. Like when you're in there, there's nothing personal. I'm sure if Ross would have done that to me, it would have been, the same kind of thing. It's no knock on Ross Pearson, man. He's still got a big future left in the sport. I thought, everyone's saying that he's kind of slowed down and he's kind of, he's on the tail end of his career. And then I got in there and I felt how sharp he was. And Ross has still got it, man, like for sure. He'll still be around the sport for like much longer. I think he's got years left in him and another run. But getting back to the knockout, yeah, it's like a mix, yeah. It's primal to knock someone out. I don't know if you've ever knocked someone out.
Not like that.
Yeah, oh man, it's quite a feeling. I've got a few knockouts and knocked a few people out, and it's quite a feeling. It's unreal. It's unlike anything that you've kind of experienced before. It's like a overpowering kind of like animalistic experience. But to me, I'm quite comfortable with that, so I control it now. You see a lot of guys and they kind of running around in circles, jumping on the cage, and I've got a bit more appreciation for that kind of thing, and appreciation for your opponent coming in there and they're trying to do the exact same thing. So it's appreciation, respect. Yeah, man, it's just a mashup of emotions, a knockout.
Well, your emotions must have been magnified afterwards because the crowd was going crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just
Oh man, the New Zealand crowd, they get loud, man. I haven't. Yeah. Well, New Zealand crowd's probably the loudest I've come across, man. They got some lungs on them. But nah, to have it there, to have it at home, to have everyone watching, it's yeah. I just had nothing but appreciation after that. You know, if it would have been the other way around, and then that gets magnified by 10.
yeah.
So yeah, just appreciated that it turned out that way.
Now, you haven't been a lightweight for a long time. So when you stepped into the cage, against your fight against Ross Pearson, how did you feel? Like, did you feel certain ways? Did you feel better? In certain ways, did you not feel better as a lightweight?
Yeah, well, I think I just felt like me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's the Dan Hooker in the gym. You know, that's the Dan Hooker that I know I'm capable of being. Uh, yeah, yeah. The featherweight ones you can be as mentally strong as you want, but if it's not all there and you don't feel like I stepped in, but no excuses. Uh, no one made me fight at featherweight. That was my call, my decision. I take responsibility for that. But when you step in there and you don't feel like yourself, you don't feel like you feel every single day. Like now, I'm just stepping in there like I feel every day. I get in the gym every day, 7 days a week. And I train hard and I push a hard pace. There's no quit. There's no back down. Like I got pace. I got power. Like I'm like a dangerous guy. And then when you're in a featherweight and you're stepping in and you're just feeling drained and you're just feeling like not yourself. So it's not like I feel amazing. I feel better. I just feel like me. That's it.
Oh, just a normal feeling then. Now let's move on to your preparations for this fight coming up at UFC 219. How has your training regimen been? You just said that you've been training 7 days a week, so no days off?
Nah, like all our training's monitored. It's all programmed correctly, and we do it off like heart rate monitors and things like that. So you're not overtraining at any point. But if it says you're good to go, if the program says you're good to go, you're good to go. So we're training, 7 days a week, man. This is not a halfway thing. This is not a halfway job. I feel good though. I like training 7 days a week. Well, usually when I have a day off and I come back to the gym, I feel like a slug. But if I just keep that engine burning 7 days a week, I feel good. I feel like this is the way that I'm supposed to train.
Nowadays, a lot of fighters are using like new, I don't know what you call it, like new like recovery methods. Like there's cryo chambers and cupping and acupuncture. Are you using those types of methods, or are you an old school type of guy?
A mix of both. I think I always have to know the why. I always have to understand, the science behind it. So if I hear about a new thing, I'll go do some research into it. I'll ask some of the people that I have around me that I trust, like my strength coach, my conditioning coach, my physio, and I'll ask these guys. These guys are experts. They've dedicated their lives to this kind of thing. Uh, I'm a martial artist. I'm not an expert in sports conditioning or sports science or physical therapy. So I go and ask the experts, people that I trust, and they let me know whether I should be doing it or not.
Have you found anything that has been working for you?
Yeah, we do. It's Joel Jameson, so it's actually Demetrius Johnson's conditioning coach, and we've taken a lot of things from him and what he's doing with Demetrius Johnson and his fighters. It's not the hardest thing in the world, You think, who is the fittest fighter on the planet? Well, I would immediately think Demetrius Johnson. So what is that guy doing? Well, then I'm gonna try to emulate that. And it's something that we've been working on for the last 2 or 3 years. So it's taking some fine tuning. with our team back home, but it's kind of all getting put together well, and my camps just get better and better. I feel good. I feel like a better athlete than I have ever been.
Now, moving on to your opponent, Marc Diakiese. He is coming off a loss. You know, it was a very close fight. What do you think of him as an opponent and the hype behind him?
Yeah, well, I think he's good. I gone back and watch his fights, watch his career. He's a good. He's been developed well. He's a dangerous guy. I'm a dangerous guy. Put a couple of dangerous guys in there. Something exciting's gonna happen. But no, he just comes in and brings a fight. So I'm looking forward to fighting another fighter who comes to put on a show and fight just like I do. There's not a lot of guys out there like us. There's not a lot of guys out there that come to show up and they come to just fight. They come to put on a show. They come to, entertain the crowd as well as look for spectacular finishes. So I appreciate him giving me the opportunity, and he will appreciate me giving him the same opportunity.
He's a guy that is a talker. Now, when you go face to face against him, when you meet him, face off, weigh-ins, all those things, he might jaw at you a little bit. Are you gonna jaw back? Are you just gonna be, like, hey, it doesn't matter. We're gonna meet in the cage.
That's up to how I'm feeling about at the moment. I don't sit at home and think about, that would be fake if I sat at home and he says this, I'm gonna say this. Man, how I react in the moment is how I react. I might just shut up. I might say something back. I don't know. Like if I don't pre-plan things too much. I don't like to overthink anything. How I react is how I react. You know.
What do you think of his skill set when you analyze your opponent? Because he is somewhat unorthodox.
Yeah. Nah, he does some tricky stuff. He does some unorthodox stuff. But I just talk to my coaches, bring in guys that kind of give me the same look. But yeah, he's very well rounded. He's got some good jiu-jitsu. He's got some good wrestling. I think his wrestling is underrated. I would say he's more of a wrestler than a striker. People have kind of told me this is a striker versus striker, which I don't tend to agree. I think he's a wrestler. I think he'll be looking to wrestle, and I'm prepared for that kind of fight as well, if that's the kind of fight that he wants.
That's where those knees come in, right?
Yeah, man, I got a lot of deadly ways to finish a fight. I think I finished a few fights in the UFC with a couple of those tools, but you don't worry, man. I got plenty more different techniques and different ways that I like to take people out.
Now, the state of the lightweight division is kind of chaotic. You got Conor. He's supposed to be the champion, but he hasn't fought in over a year. You got Ferguson. He's the interim champion. He's not going to fight for a while because he just had surgery. Do you think that this is a great opportunity for the fighters like you to kind of slowly creep up and maybe match up with higher level fighters while those guys are on the sidelines?
Yeah. It's funny, like your ranking doesn't mean shit until you get in the rankings.
Yeah.
And then till you get that little name, till you get that little number next to your name, and then all of a sudden, rankings, they actually start mattering. That's the funny thing about rankings, man. Like if you're in the rankings and you just never fight anyone outside of the rankings, well, then you never fall out of the rankings. Yeah. Even if you're top 10, you lose 4 fights, but they're to other guys in the top 10, well, then you're still going to be a top 10 fighter. That's why the rankings are a bit misleading. And now we're kind of moving towards boxing where the matchups that you want to see, the fans aren't getting to see. You're getting guys that with all reason. Like, I completely understand it. You put that little number next to my name, and I'm going to start picking fights a bit smarter as well. It's just the nature of the sport. It's just the nature of rankings. Like, if you want to protect your exposure and protect your name, then everyone's looking to fight someone above them. You know, no one wants to fight guys outside of the rankings, which I understand, because that would be silly.
It seems like a lot more fighters that are in the rankings are like turning down fights, you know, and it is smart, but then at the same time, you're not testing yourself. In this sport is about testing yourself against the best fighters in the world. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, but then you're just knocking guys for playing the game that the UFC created. You know, we're just the fighters, man. Like, I'm sure guys, it would be stupid. Like, if you go back and look at it, like, Cowboy taking that fight against Till was stupid. Like, I think anyone in the top 50, top 100 has as much chance of beating anyone else. Like, styles make matchups. Some styles don't work well for other styles, you know? Like, if you've got, like, one hole in your game, someone sucks, but they have that other hole, they're going to get the better of you. For instance, Anthony Pettis, you know, he lost to Clay Guida. Clay Guida is not a top 15 guy. You know, he's not like I would say, you know, he'd be outside of the top 50 if I had to put it down to something. But styles make fights. You know, Clay Guida was able to beat Anthony Pettis, who's one of the top elite guys fighting in the lightweight division, purely based on style. So, yeah, you can't knock guys for playing a game correctly that you created. That would just be, and it would be hypocritical of me to go around and tell them, they need to just fight anyone, blah, 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 show up, fight anyone. As soon as I get the number next to my name, I'm going to be doing the same thing. It would be bad business to play it any other way.
So you have to have a strategy with your career.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. This is not toughest man wins competition anymore, you know, especially now that they've brought in the rankings. Like, guys are jumping places fairly quick. Like, Gagey beat Michael Johnson, who is not a tough fight. Like, stylistically, that was a good fight for him. Because he was undefeated, the UFC was trying to get him to a title shot as soon as they could, you know. So he kind of jumped the line. If he would have beat Alvarez, I'm sure, you know, he would have jumped the line to fight for like a number one contender place in like 2 fights in the UFC. You know, he's up in contention talk because he's being good. You know, he's playing the game well, and he's being a smart businessman.
Last question before I let you go. Where do you see yourself at the end of 2018?
Yeah, I've had, you know, these projected plans before, and just there is nothing guaranteed in fight sports. You know, I intend to fight for the next 10 years. So, you know, as long as it takes me to reach that kind of ultimate goal I've set out for myself. But I understand and I appreciate that this is a physically based sport, and anything can happen. Anything can get switched around. So I'm just being appreciative of what I have now and my journey and the path that I'm on. But I got no Jedi mind powers. I can't see into the future. I have dreams and goals, but nothing is guaranteed. So I'm just here enjoying the ride.
So it's almost just like a day-by-day situation for you.
Day by day, fight by fight. Yeah, I take it one fight at a time. Always looking up, always looking forward. You know, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
You can catch Daniel Hooker at UFC 219 in the lightweight bout against Marc Diakiese. It's going to be crazy. It's gonna be it's gonna be probably maybe the fight of the night, in my opinion. So yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your time, and have a good flight.
Thank you very much.